All right, we're going to graph the equation by plotting the points. So we're actually just going to plug values in and see what we get out. In this case, because of where the y is, it's going to make more sense to plug in for the y. Okay, so I'm going to just choose some numbers, right? So I'm looking at my graph, I see that I have more space on the positive side. So maybe, why don't we start with a positive? Let's start with 6. If I plug in, well, yeah, and if I look at the y, because that's what I'll be plugging in, so I'm looking up here, I'm going to say, okay, let's plug in y equals 6. If I plug in 6 for my y, this becomes a 6. 6 minus 4 is 2. The absolute value of 2 is 2. So this becomes 2. So the ordered pair is 2, 6. Again, 6 minus 4. Absolute value is going to be the absolute value of 2, which is going to equal 2. All right, let's try a different number. So remember, this is, if I plot this point, I'm over here at 2, I go up to 6, it's this point right here, okay? Now let's do it again. Let's pick a different number though. Let's pick something nice. Let's pick 4. 4 for our y. So then we'd have 4 minus 4 absolute values. Well, that's just going to be absolute value of 0, which is just 0. So my x would be 0. So as a point, 0, 4. So 0 up to 4, 2, 3, there's 4. Okay. And again, I only have this graph here, so this piece that I get to work with. So I'm choosing numbers that are in there. Let's try this. Let's try plugging in. So that's my 0, 4. Let's plug in. Let's see when we hit the y-axis. Let's look at our intercept. So why don't we go ahead and plug a 0 in. So then I have 0 minus 4. Well, that's going to equal minus 4, which is going to equal 4. So at x equals 4, I'm at 0. 4, 0. So if I go to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm at 0. Okay. Well, let's see where I can get some. So, now this is an equation, so it may not be a function. But let's try some more. So we've got there, we got the 0. Let's plug in a negative, I don't know, negative 1. Negative 1. This is for my y value. So that's going to put me on this row somewhere. Let's see what happens. So if I plug in negative 1 minus 4, well, negative 1 minus 4 is going to be negative 5, which is going to equal the absolute value of negative 5, which is going to just equal 5. So at 5, I'm at negative 1. At 5, I'm at negative 1. So we go to 5, and we go down to 1. Okay. It kind of looks like they kind of go together. Let's try, oh, I don't know. What do we want to try? We could try plugging in x in and solve for y, but that's harder. And in these cases, we always want to try to do whatever's easiest for us. So let's see, have we plugged in well, we haven't plugged in that. So let's plug in a 1. So let's plug in a 1 for our y. If I plug in a 1, I have the absolute value of 1 minus 4, which is going to equal the absolute value of negative 3, which is going to equal 3. This is the point 3, comma 1. So at 3, 1, 2, 3, I'm at 1. Okay, we can kind of see a line forming there. Let's choose something else. Let's choose, we want 1, 2, 3. Let's choose 3. If I plug a 3 in, or maybe we want to choose something higher. Well, let's just choose 3. 3. Then this is the absolute value of 3 minus 4. Again, we always want to try to keep our numbers small. Absolute value of negative 1. That's absolute value, which is going to equal 1. So we have the point 1, comma 3. So at 1, we're at 3. Now we can kind of see this line forming, these lines. Maybe I should have chosen like 8. Let's do 8. It's not on the list. Let's go ahead and do 8 though, just so you can maybe see where we hit that mark. So again, we have 8 minus 4, absolute value, and this is going to equal 4, the absolute value of 4, which is equal to 4. So 4 is going to give me 8. 4 is going to give me 8. Now you'll notice this one and this one have the same x value. And that's how we know this isn't a function, because an x value can only give you a single y value. You can have two things give you the same y value, but you can only have one x. The x has to give you the same result. Okay? Here we can plug in a 4 and we can get out 0, or we can plug in a 4 and get out 8, which is a problem for us as far as a function goes. It is still an equation. So we'll go to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can also be up here. And if we were to graph this, it would look something like this. And that is how we graph by plotting points. When we see an absolute value, especially with our y in it, we should expect that we are no longer a function. It often happens that when we're solved for x, we are also no longer a function. Not always, but oftentimes we do that because the other doesn't work as well. All right, I hope that helped.